recognize the resident coordinator's leadership and for bringing us here together with the youth. It's very exciting, and I've been very inspired. And I also want to join her to thank the management of this place, and also to thank His Excellency the President for offering us the space and the opportunity to be here and to learn. But let me start off with the question around why does this thing matter, and what does it mean for a country like Uganda, and what are we doing also as a UN family to support the youth? Why does it matter? And I just want to also reflect a bit what the resident coordinator said. We have the youngest population, or one of the youngest population on earth, but also we have a very huge unemployment. I think about 700,000 to 1 million people join the workforce every year, and the public sector, for example, cannot support them. Us bringing the youth here, it's important for a couple of reasons. First, for exposure, to see what is out there, the innovation that we are seeing. And that innovation is very important because you need to learn to be able to inform whatever you are doing. And so by them coming here, by asking the right questions, by seeing what is being done differently, that exposure in itself, it's something that has inspired the youth. And as we walked along various stations, seeing the plantations, whether it was pineapple, whether it was coffee plantations, they were asking so many questions. I just heard somebody say, well, I've been doing banana plantations wrongly then. So you see that they were exposed. The second dimension, in addition to the innovation, is the skilling dimension, which is very important. And sometimes when we're talking skilling, it's not only about when it's online or whether in a classroom setting. That's part of the capacity building. That's part of the capacity development that we're talking about. So the skilling dimension for us is very important. The third reason, which I think it's also important, why the youth are here, is a partnership dimension. The network, here we are with different youth, some of them in agriculture, some of them into processing. And you can already see the connections that are happening amongst the youth in terms of potential partnership. So when the RC says that it's not about individuals anymore, she is right. How are we going to connect ourselves together and have an ecosystem that allows us to connect with each other? So, and finally, from a development point of view, as a development agency, and indeed for the United Nations family, we cannot talk about development without looking at some of these things. Where do we need to bring the transformation? Where do we need to erase some of those structural bottlenecks? And coming to a demonstration farm like this, it's very inspiring in the fact that you can see what the potential is and what can be done. And so for us, in light of the fact that the country is also transitioning into the implementation of the third National Development Plan, this is also important because we can take some of these ideas into the implementation of the NDP 3. So it's no longer a theoretical thing that we're talking about. So when we talk about the 18 or 20 programs, whether it's on agriculture, whether it's on energy, whether it's on water, whether on private sector development or regional development, some of these ideas can be then mainstreamed, and that we can go to scale at that level. Now, let me just try to perhaps also wrap up by saying, why does it matter for us in the UN? What are some of the things that we are doing? I think by just being here, we are also shaping our own thinking in the United Nations family on how we can do things potentially differently. In the past few months, and thanks to the resident coordinator and His Excellency the President, we launched a Youth for Business facility. And that facility is to identify young businesses that have great potential that we can support, that we can incubate, and this we developed in partnership with Stanbic Uganda Holdings Limited. Now, what we're beginning to see, for example, is that in that facility now, and we're going to launch, the third phase of the facility maybe in a week or two time, we're going to be looking at maybe groups coming together, associations coming together. So we have a great idea. We want to do a poultry farm. Can you support us in that facility? And therefore, we're going to support as UNDP in that facility. We get some of the ideas from the SDG challenge, where we have million innovative ideas coming up. We pick up on some of these things, and we partner with agencies such as FAO, for example, to say, can you handhold the businesses that are coming in the agricultural sector, supporting them and taking them to scale. The exposure is great, the partnership potential, the potential for transformation, and indeed beyond even the borders of Uganda, because now on 1st of January, Africa now started the implementation of the Africa Free Trade Continental Area Agreement, the AFCTA. That's a big potential, a big market, because we're only trading 15% amongst African countries, whereas other regions are trading 65%. Now, what is the potential for a young business person, agriculture business? And agriculture is a business. How do we connect them in the person who is in Ghana, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, Cape Verde? How do we do those connections? And if we can get it right by empowering the young people, by providing them with incentives, by providing them with the capacity, then we know that Africa itself shall rise, so that it's not only Uganda, the whole region will be able to aggregate its own potential, particularly drawing on agriculture, which is about 60 to 70%, and sometimes 80% of our population live off agriculture. And for us, it's a very exciting opportunity, and want to join hands with the rest of the UN family under the leadership of the resident coordinator to take that vision forward, particularly looking at agriculture, looking at value chains, and looking at how we can expose young people to look at agriculture as a business. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Elsie. Now over to you, Antonio. I believe from what Elsie